Okay, all right. Thank you so much, sir. And I hope I am audible enough.
It's clear to me. Thank you.
Okay. So good morning to everybody present here. So I'm presenting on behalf of both I and Dr. Barika Khyriem. So I am Ruth. So the title of the topic is the distribution of pitch accents in Khasi Intonation Structure. So before I begin, I'd just like to say a few words on the study of intonation itself in Khasi. So, as I think you're all aware of, it's still in its very in a very nascent stage. So we really do not have much of studies on intonation, apart from scattered description of the intonation patterns, such as the statements, questions, imperatives. We really do not have any other study of intonation. So this is just an attempt, and I'd like to say at the very beginning that it is also at a very preliminary stage, So I hope you would bear with me. So I'm going to start with the presentation. So right away, I'm sorry, but the thing is not moving. Slide. Hello?
Yes, I see the problem. So you can't tap through the slides?
No, I cannot.
Okay. If you can email me the file, I can open it from here. We'll lose a couple of minutes, but we can do it that
Yes,
way.
sure. I'll do it right away. sir, I've sent
Yep.
it.
Yep, to the ICAAL.ps address.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we're just waiting for it to come through. Okay, one moment. Okay. All right. Okay, it's coming now. And just sharing. All right, everyone can see that. Okay, please go ahead, Ruth.
All right, sure, sir. Okay, so we begin with what are pitch accents. So for the unversed and for the ones who like there is a difference between pitch accents and stress. So we begin by actually explaining what is pitch accent. So pitch accent typically highlights a single syllable within a word or a stressed syllable within a phrase rather than marking every syllable. So they are local rises or falls in pitch associated with certain syllables in words or sentences, giving prominence and changing meaning. So in contrast to tone languages, where every syllable may carry a specific lexical tone, pitch accent languages use fewer distinctive pitch variations, often only on key syllables. Some languages have lexical pitch accents tied to specific words in the lexicon, sound distinctions between words, while others use post-lexical accents that are assigned within phrases depending on discourse context. And then, so how is pitch accent different from stress then? So pitch accent, like we said earlier, prominence is signaled primarily by pitch, or the FO, fundamental frequency, sometimes with duration or intensity changes. It highlights a syllable within a word or a word within a phrase to convey focus, contrast, or discourse meaning. Stress, on the other hand, prominence is typically realized through a bundle of cues, such as higher loudness, longer vowel duration, fuller articulation, and sometimes accompanying pitch changes. So stress marks the relative importance of a syllable within a word stress or across a phrase. So sentence or at phrasal stress. So, so we now come into, excuse me, sorry, stress and Khasi. So in order for us to understand pitch, since there is a connection between pitch accents and stress, we will first focus on the stress and Khasi. So as been described before, Khasi is a language with predictable and fixed stress. Okay, so it's been said by Rabel, Henderson, and Khyriem. So on the lexical level, Khasi stress makes no phonemic distinction for words, so they don't differentiate meaning. So due to its invariable nature, stress assumes somewhat of a demarcating role. So a vast majority of Khasi words are either monosyllabic or sesquisyllabic. Nonetheless, there are a sizable number of non-monosyllabic and non-sesquisyllabic words to exist. So native syllables, very rare, according to Khyriem herself. Non-native dissyllables identified by Rabel and compounds make up the rest of the polysyllabic word stock. So the majority of scholastic work on Khasi reveals the tendency of the final syllable of a word to take on the primary stress. So in disyllabic sesquisyllabic compound, made up of two roots. Primary stress is assigned to the final syllable, followed by a secondary stress in the initial syllable. The same pattern is noticed in trisyllable words formed through either affixation and or compounding. So we have here a couple of examples for disyllable words which are native. The word is mare, which means a run. We see here that re gets the primary stress, whereas the initial syllable ma gets the secondary stress. Disyllabic non-native, same pattern, kubor. So bor gets the primary, ku gets the secondary stress. It is sesquisyllabic word, such as skin mao. Mao gets the primary stress, whereas kin gets the secondary stress. A trisyllabic word such as jinkit kia. In such a word, the first or the final syllable gets the primary stress, whereas the secondary stress goes to the first syllable, first initial syllable. Kit remains either unstressed or weakly stressed. Lastly, the quadrisyllables, which are not many in number, there are few. If it is affixation and compounding, we have only quadrisyllables only through affixation and compounding. So an example is Jing Her Pateng, which means hereditary. So here too, we have a kind of, the final and the initial syllable have stress. So the final is primary and the initial syllable is a secondary stress. Here and pad receive no stress. Then other than that, other factors that influence stress in Khasi. Number one is syllable weight. So Khasi has both a heavy bimoric syllables as well as light monomoric. So light syllable contains either a consonant followed by a monophthong CV or a single monophthong, like u, a personal pronoun, third personal pronoun singular, CV, rice, ja. So a heavy syllable is composed when a consonant is followed by a monophthong or diphthong followed by another consonant. So the structure is CVC or CVVC, or when a monophthong is followed only by a consonant, VC, or when a consonant is followed by a diphthong, CVV, or when a consonant cluster is followed by a short monophthong plus a coda consonant, CCVC, or when a consonant cluster is followed by a long vowel plus a coda, CCVC. The structures of heavy syllables in Khasi with examples are as follows. CVC kit, CVV kya, CVVC here, VC CCVC start, CCVC command. The other factor influencing stress realization in Khasi is vowel length. So according to Khyriem, 2012, from a study, apart from phonetically long and half-long vowels, Khasi also has one phonemic long vowel a, which contrasts with the open vowel a, and one phonemic diphthong ia, as shown in the following examples cited in Khyriem. So short a versus long a. Tam, which means exceed. When it is long, tam, it means to pick up something. Ngap, it's a bee, an insect. And ngap, it's a cheek. The diphthong as well. So when the diphthong is placed at the middle syllable position, we have words like sia, to peel, tiang, sweet, bia, to spit. Final syllable position, kia, heavy, sokia, cucumber, kriat, gold. So another factor is also the minor syllable. So as we know, a minor syllable called Siswissel is commonly attested in almost all Austroasiatic languages, and Khasi is none different from that. So in this type in this type of syllable. So the nucleus position of the minor syllable is filled by any of these syllabic consonants in Khasi, la, ra, ma, na, or nga. So Rymbai can also recognize the presence of sessile syllables in Khasi, whose minor syllable has the structure of CC consonant followed by another syllabic consonant as exemplified in the following examples. Now, why do I say minor syllables? Minor syllables are important because almost in all the Khasi structures, wherever the minor syllables are present, okay, in a sesquisyllabic word, we find that it always receives a not a very strong stress as it would be in the final syllable position, but at least a secondary sort of stress. So examples are perthei, pili, thei, tengah. So the key points to explain the distinction in Khasi, so the stress and pitch accents from all the factors that we have just stated in just now. So stress in Khasi often correlates with syllabic weight and phonological prominence, like long vowels or heavy syllables may bear prominence. So however, the language does not rely on a fully productive lexical tone system like tonal languages. And this is a very, apparent and known feature of Khasi. So pitch-related cues, such as intonation in Khasi, are used to highlight cues of focus, contrast, and discourse structure, rather than to create distinct lexical meanings on individual syllables in the way a strictly pitch accent language might. So pitch and accent in Khasi. Now to just give a reference point of what a pitch is. So for example, in this clip, in this figure, we have a high pitch accent which occurs in every content word with the exception of last nuclear accent in an intonational phrase. So the whole sentence is Mano Bawan Umonne. Who came? Is it you? So here we can see it is characterized by a rising pitch counter, mostly found in, so this is a yes-no question. So in this figure, the H pitch accent is realized as the last nuclear accent in the word ne, question particle, at the end. So this is the sort of pitch accent that we are talking about. So other than the high pitch accent, another example that I could show you is a low pitch accent, which is realized as a low pitch at the bottom of the speaker's pitch range. It is characterized as a falling contour in the nuclear accent of Khasi. For example, in this clip, it is a WH question sentence. So the figure consists of an L nuclear accent on the last syllable of the question word, manu. Uman uwan menu. So when did mon come? So how lexical stress, syntactic structure, information focus, and prosodic boundaries interact to govern the placement of pitch accents in Khasi. So now, wholly singling out just the lexical stress first, Khasi words tend to have a word final primary stress, which we discussed earlier, so which is often marked by a falling pitch. This stress syllable often serves as a natural anchoring point for pitch accents, so giving prominence and marking word level focus. So lexical stress word, whichever syllable in Khasi is primary stressed, has the potential to receive a pitch accent. Normally, it is the word final primary stress. For example, here we have the target word. So I have these three clips over here. Target word is Banrilang. Yes. So over here you will see that wherever the target word is, you will see it is accompanied. If it is ending in, because the last syllable is lang, Banri lang, you will see that it is aligned with a pitch accent wherever the stress syllable is. In case of this, you will see just next to L, it has an edge pitch accent. Here too, same thing. Here, lang is at the end, and you see a high pitch, okay, but it also interacts, okay, co-interacts with the boundary tone, which is marked by that percentage, percentage kind of okay, with that, it interacts with that. So the second thing, other than the lexical stress, the syntactic structure. How does the syntactic structure of intonational phrases or sentences in Khasi have an effect on the placement of pitch actions, pitch accents? So pitch accents are influenced by phrase structure. So intonational phrases and syntactic boundaries help define where accents can appear. So the pitch accent often aligns with syntactic heads or prominent elements within a phrase and sentence level intonation, countermark, clause, boundaries. So for example, we have a sentence here, Meban Kyusha Prang is searching for Mela. Okay, so if you talk about if you talk about the syntactic boundaries here, okay, so we have one word here, Meban Kyusha Prang. Okay, here you can see that there is a kind of edge, or do we say a phrase? Okay. So the pitch accent, okay, realizes these is realized or placed in these, coexist with these head placement as well. So the next third one, okay, let's see the third the factor which influences the placement of pitch accent, focus or emphasis on particular words or phrases dynamically influences pitch accent placement. So focus words are highlighted by higher pitch, okay, or longer duration or distinct contours, such as a rising pitch on a focus verb or noun. So here we have the focus of an example of a focus verb, pawar, okay, that is to recite, which means to recite. So there is a narrow focus on this, and you can see that there is, it is marked by a high pitch rise.
Are there many more slides? Because we are running out of time.
Yes, sir, almost done.
Okay.
Okay, so, and then the prosodic boundaries. So boundaries between prosodic units. Okay, so if it is, if there are boundaries in between, okay, so these units, these prosodic units create points where pitch accents and boundary tones interact with each other. So the edge of a prosodic phrase, it typically carries boundary tones, rising or falling, that signal closure or continuation and interact with pitch accents to shape overall intonation. Okay, can move on, sir. So example is, if it's a low IP boundary tone, you can see that it is marked so. At the end, so intermediate phrase, for example, in Khasi, intermediate phrases is cued by a pause and is most evident in because clause structure. In this figure, this IP, okay, the phrase na klem like na marba, okay, is marked by a high IP boundary tone H. So last but not the least, de-accentuation also plays a role in determining realization of pitch accent. So in longer utterances with many words, when many words utterances, all content words do not receive a pitch accent. Many of these words get de-accented or nearly de-accented and often takes the shape of a sudden compression in pitch range. So figure below shows the accentuation and sudden pitch compression on the final phrase, okay, Kade gajo he hamairam, you would see that it doesn't look so prominent anymore, and there is a compression in the shape as well. So in conclusion, to sum it up, let's say the Khasi pitch accent placement is not fixed solely just by word stress, but is a prosodic phenomenon shaped by syntactic prominence, pragmatic focus, and prosodic phrasing. So this interaction produces rich intonational contours, marking discourse meaning and information structure, making pitch accents dynamic and context sensitive in Khasi speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we have a couple of minutes for discussion. Okay, Luke says, what is the evidence for distinguishing primary and secondary stress placements? Could you specify features of secondary stress?
All right, thank you for the question. As for now, if Luke is talking about an acoustic evidence, I have not undergone, or I have not investigated in acoustically the distinction between the primary and secondary stress placement. But however, what I am while doing this paper, my major focus has been on the phonological aspect. Okay, what has been established on the stress, with the distinction between this primary and a secondary stress. So for secondary stress, he also asked, could you specify the features of the secondary stress? Usually the secondary, the syllable that receives secondary stress, I think they are more, at this very moment, I can think of the sesquisyllabic words. Okay, if the first one has a reduced, like a vowel, has a reduced vowel or a centralized vowel, okay, so that first initial syllable tends to get secondary stress. I hope I am making sense to you.
Okay. I think we need to wind up unless there's any more questions, as our next speaker will be waiting. We have Greg says, de-accentuated grammatical elements, how are these determined as words and not bound elements? In other words, what defines a phonological word? Ruth, do you have a response to that?
Yes, sir. I am reading it actually. I've opened the chat box. I have not really looked into that, sir, or whether they are words or bound elements. Okay. By bound elements, do you mean, sir, any affixation or compounding?
Yeah, I mean, if they're de-accented and grammatical, outside of this context, you might just call them affixes.
Yes. Okay, so I have not really looked into that, sir. So maybe I would carry forth and look into that. So my focus point was just on words, on the singular words, on monosyllabic words in that very sentence example.
Okay, thanks.
All right, thanks, Ruth. We should thank our speaker for that very interesting presentation and move on to the next